Diego Maradona's funeral procession has begun rolling through the streets of the Argentine capital, Buenos Aires. In Venezuela's second-to-last debate for the upcoming parliamentary elections, candidates were asked about their opinion on the management of the current National Assembly. Thousands of protesters rallied Thursday outside the home of Judge Fade Sawan, the lead judicial investigator into the disastrous blast at Beirut's port in August. Hello, welcome to TeleSUR English. I'm Gladys Quesada from the TeleSUR headquarters in Havana, Cuba. This is From the South. Argentine football legend Diego Armando Maradona has been buried in an intimate ceremony at the Jardín de Bellavista Cemetery on the outskirts of the Argentine capital, Buenos Aires. Thousands lined in the streets to bid the national hero a final farewell, as a hearse bearing his flag-draped coffin, surrounded by police on motorcycles, drove at high speed through the streets of Buenos Aires this Thursday evening. 25 relatives and people close to Maradona took part in the funeral procession, and he was laid to rest at the cemetery alongside his parents. And huge crowds gathered at Argentina's presidential palace to pay their final respects to the football legend Diego Armando Maradona before he was laid to rest. 3 days of national mourning conclude after the national hero died of a heart attack on Wednesday at the age of 60. Many people wept, blew kisses or said prayers as they filed past the footballer's coffin from the early hours, which was wrapped in Argentina's national flag and football shirt, bearing his trademark number 10 on her back. Authorities announced that it will be on public display until Thursday afternoon, ahead of the funeral procession through the streets of Buenos Aires. Maradona's family and former teammates took part in a private ceremony earlier in the day. On Wednesday night, a sea of people crowded the streets of the capital and other cities across the country to mourn Maradona's death and also to celebrate his life. And the Argentina's president, Alberto Fernández, paid his respects to Diego Maradona, laying a red T-shirt with the number 10 at his coffin in the Casa Rosada in Buenos Aires. Fans who queued to pay their respects to the footballer, who was a hero in Argentina and beyond, both on and off the pitch, threw shirts, flowers and other items towards the casket. And Argentina's Vice President, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, also paid her final respects to Diego Maradona at the presidential palace. On learning of his death on Wednesday, the Vice President tweeted, "Much sadness, a great has gone. Farewell, Diego. A huge embrace for his family and loved ones." And top figures of the world of football have reacted to the sad news of the death of Diego Armando Maradona. Spanish team Real Madrid's manager Zinedine Zidane described it as a huge loss for the world, while Atletico Madrid coach Diego Simeone, who played alongside Maradona for both Argentina and Seville, said he had lost a legend.
Yes, it's very sad. It's a huge loss for the world of football and the world in general. He's someone who inspires us all. He was one of a kind. I have the 1986 World Cup engraved in my head. I was lucky enough to meet him afterwards and tell him he was an inspiration for millions of young people around the world, especially for me, even though my idol was Enzo Francescoli. It's tragic news. We heard about it just before leaving the hotel. It's a sad day and we are thinking of his family. It's really hard when someone calls you on the phone to tell you that Diego is gone. You said it cannot be. We've lost a legend, an Argentinian who was known for breaking the mold in a good and bad way. He always did his best to instill his fighting spirit in others. I'm 50 and Diego was 60. We loved playing football because we admired him. We were teammates in Sevilla. He and his families welcomed me with open arms. I was just a boy. He made his mark on Argentina's national team. When you hear it, you just don't think it is possible.
Buscando contagiarnos a nosotros.
Fans across the world have reacted with huge sadness to the football star's death, remembering Maradona and his feats both on and off the pitch with great affection.
Maradona contributed many things, many ideas in sport, in politics and in human relations. Maradona was also helped by the Cubans, in the sense that Maradona was here in Cuba for a long time, receiving medical treatment. He was not only a splendid football player, but he was a man committed to the humble and the oppressed of the world, an extraordinary man and an evident football genius, who also lived his greatness glories right here in Mexico in the World Cup of Football. He is a great football player. Chinese people like him very much and a lot of people look up to him. He is a very good athlete. After he retired he was still focused on football, so we all like him very much. I feel his sudden death is very unfortunate. Maradona is a very famous person. He has very good football skills and he is a decent person. No scandals and all. Chinese people are familiar with him. I think some football fans have deep affection towards him, although I'm not one of them, but I still feel very uncomfortable hearing the news.
Neapolitans gathered to pay tribute to football legend and local hero Diego Armando Maradona in front of the San Paolo Stadium when he brought glory to one of the poorest cities in Europe. The mayor of Naples has proposed that the stadium be renamed in honor of the city's beloved Argentine footballer. Maradona was most loved at club level for his spells with Boca Juniors in his homeland and Napoli in Italy, where he won the club's only 2 league titles in 1987 and 1990 to become a legend among the city's working-class football fans. The president and owner of Napoli, Aurelio De Laurentiis, said it could be an idea to rename the stadium San Paolo Maradona and announced his intention to broadcast images of Diego feasts at the stadium on Thursday.
I didn't expect it. He has left us as he arrived, by surprise. He has left us. We didn't choose Maradona. Maradona chose Naples. I came last night as well. That was all my teen years. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Beyond what everybody is saying about him, he was the greatest. My only wish now is to know that he is happy among the angels, that maybe they wanted a captain, and he will take them to victory as only he knows how.
And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Venezuela and in the second-to-last debate before the upcoming parliamentary elections scheduled for December the 6th, the candidates were asked their opinion on the management of the current National Assembly.
The first thing to highlight that this current National Assembly has had no administration, so no administration can be validated without having it. This National Assembly came to that position to conspire, to try to overthrow the government, the president. That is why they enter into violence, sabotage, in the guarimbas that cause harm to the people. So we believe that the assessment that we can give about them is that they are a total failure. Fail in their intentions to sabotage and destabilize the country and sabotage the peace of the country. So their management failed to overthrow the government and will not succeed because they do not have the people. They do not even have the support of the same sectors of the country that could accompany them. Because when they arrive there, many who vote for them realize what their intentions were and turned away from them. Now, what will we do? We will open the doors to the people, that the people enter, and we will resume the functions of the National Assembly, which are 24 functions, established by the Article 187 in the Constitution.
At the end of the day, the National Assembly must be an organ that is in favor of the people and for the people, and for that we must go to the National Assembly. First of all, there is no need to make any misleading offer. We are not going to plot or stage a coup. We are going to the National Assembly to legislate the monitor, to give answers to the Venezuelan people.
Brazil surpassed 6.2 million confirmed cases and 171 deaths related to COVID-19 this Thursday. The official report between Wednesday and Thursday of the South American nation, one of the three most affected in the world by the pandemic, indicated that in the last 24 hours, 37,000 contagions and 691 fatalities occurred. Thus, as of Thursday, the country has a mortality rate of 81.6 deaths and an incidence of 2,952.3 infected persons per 100,000 inhabitants.
There was a decrease, a big fall. Today we see again a rise in hospitalizations because of the flexibilization of people in general, relaxing on care and mask usage. In Brazil, I think it will get much worse. It is only by being in this reality that I now know what COVID-19 is.
I thought I'd spend New Year's Eve with my whole family, but the virus took that from me. It's real, the virus is here and it's not a joke. People have to understand that it's not a joke, it's really deadly.
The National Emergency System of Uruguay announced that the country reached a new milestone of COVID-19 active cases after reporting 129 new infections. The figure of active cases now stands at 1,022 cases of COVID-19 infections, with a tally of 5,117 infections reported since the beginning of the outbreak, being in Montevideo, the worst impacted department. In addition, the report indicates that 11 people are undergoing intensive treatment and that a new death was recorded, bringing the COVID-19 death tally to 74. In an ordinary session this Thursday, the Mexican Senate voted to end presidential immunity. With 89 votes in favor and 23 against, the Mexican Senate approved the constitutional reform, meaning that former Mexican presidents will now be able to be investigated and tried for the same crimes for which any other citizen can be prosecuted, including electoral crimes and acts of corruption. The measure, which was promoted by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, must now be approved by at least 17 of the 32 state legislatures to be endorsed and implemented at the national level. Cuban authorities announced the registration of 2 new COVID-19 vaccine candidates for clinical trials, bringing the total the island has developed to 4. After a careful review of research conducted to date, the Center for the State Control of Medicines, Equipment and Medical Services authorized the beginning of the clinical trials of the latest 2 Cuban-developed vaccine candidates against COVID-19, which have been named Mambisa and Abdala, both names with historic connotations, developed by the Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. The Mambisa vaccine will be applied as a nasal spray, while Abdala will be administered as an intramuscular injection. Cuba was the first country in Latin America and the Caribbean, and also the 30th worldwide, to receive the authorization to start clinical trials of a vaccine candidate against COVID-19 in August, named Soberana 1, while the beginning of November, the World Health Organization included a second Cuban vaccine candidate named Soberana 2 on the official site, listing projects that are in the clinical trials phase. And the developers of Russia's Sputnik V vaccine have suggested that AstraZeneca try an experimental regime combining the 2 vaccine candidates during the new round of its COVID-19 vaccine trials in order to boost the effectiveness of the shot. The vaccine developed by AstraZeneca in collaboration with Oxford University has shown an average effectiveness of 70% based on 2 ongoing trials, one in the United Kingdom and another in Brazil, involving more than 11,000 people. The trials used different dosage strategies and saw different outcomes. At the same time, Russia's Sputnik V and 2 shots developed by the US firms Pfizer and Moderna boasted effectiveness of over 90%. Despite widespread concerns over the implications for press freedom, the French National Assembly adopted the Global Security Law this Thursday. The law, which bans filming of police in public places and escalates police surveillance of demonstrations, testifies to the authoritarian evolution of the Emmanuel Macron government since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The law contains multiple provisions aiming to block the exercise of fundamental, constitutional and protected rights. It will allow police to massively escalate the deployment of drones to monitor demonstrators, while the publication of images of events in a public space involving police agents in a way that could potentially harm their physical or psychological well-being will be punishable by a fine of 45,000 euros and 1 year in prison. And we have more stories coming up after this financial break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Dozens of protesters rallied Thursday outside the home of Judge Fade Sawan, the lead judicial investigator into the disastrous blast at Beirut's port in August. The demonstrators demanded that the investigation's developments be immediately unveiled, stressing that they will not allow the truth to be buried. A prosecutor filed charges on Tuesday against current and former customs officials in the case of the massive blast. So far, judges have filed charges against 33 people, including 25 who are in detention.
Because this is not a state, this is not a government, it's just and only a cartel by criminal people who are taking that country, as said the president Michel Aoun, to hell. Lebanese people want to know the truth. We want investigation and we want the truth.
Today we are going to Judge Sawan to demand that justice is achieved and at the same time to say that the memorandum he sent to Parliament to let them take the responsibility is not acceptable.
The Office of the UN Special Envoy for Syria announced Thursday that Syrian peace talks are set to resume in Geneva on Monday. A fourth session of the Syrian Constitutional Committee will convene from November the 30th to December the 4th to seek reach agreements on the basic laws for a peaceful Syria after the last round of talks held in Geneva ended on August 29th. UN Deputy Special Envoy for Syria, Kaula Matar, told the UN Security Council that a further session will be held in Geneva on January the 5th, after next week's session. Then he noted that the talks in Geneva were made possible due to the agreement of the two Syrian co-chairs from both sides and the mandate of the Constitutional Committee's small body responsible for the drafting of a new constitution for the war-torn country. The group consists of 15 members from the Syrian government, non-governmental organizations and representatives of the Syrian opposition. And after the ultimatum, the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed ordered his troops to storm the rebel capital of the region. The Prime Minister confirmed on Thursday that he had ordered his army forces to take the capital of the Tigray region, a territory against which it has maintained an armed offensive for 3 weeks and to which it gave earlier a period of 72 hours to surrender. A statement from the African country's Premier Office reveals that the Ethiopian Defense Forces have now been ordered to conclude the third and final phase of a law enforcement operation. Meanwhile, in a valley in remote part of Sudan, Rakuba camp is already over capacity. The camp, which is meant to house 5,000 Ethiopian refugees fleeing violence from the Tigray region, has now almost doubled that capacity. The UN estimates that up to 200,000 people could arrive in the next 6 months.
Catering for over 9,000 people in the camp, hot meal is a challenge. We cannot keep social distancing here in the camp. It is really challenging among the several issues in need that are growing because the number is growing. Today we are receiving a convoy of 1,000 arriving in the camp, and shelter is one of the biggest challenges that we have at the moment.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also, if you feel so inclined, please follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.